Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Jenny Dildine, the LDS Mission Coach, and you are listening to the LDS Mission Podcast, episode number 135, When You're In a Rut. I'm Jenny, the LDS Mission Coach, and whether you are preparing to serve a mission, currently serving, a returned missionary, or a missionary mama like me, I created this podcast just for you. Are you searching for epic confidence? Ready to love yourself and to learn the how of doing hard things? Then let's go. I will help you step powerfully into your potential and never question your purpose again. It's time to embrace yourself, embrace your mission, embrace your life, and embrace what's next. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to the podcast. I feel like my nose sounds a little plugged. Maybe it is. So you guys will have to bear with me a little bit. I just find this time of year is like I'm hot and then I'm cold and then I'm hot and then I'm really cold. I think it was 2 degrees when I woke up this morning. But some of you missionaries out in Minnesota who are listening are like, that is nothing, Jenny. I've heard from a few of you over there via email that it feels like -20. So I'm not going to complain with the -2, but all of that to say, I think my nose sounds a little plugged today. I actually decided that I could maybe put this recording off until tomorrow, but tonight I'm not like feeling the awesomest, and I'm actually just a little bit tired and kind of ready to be done with the day. And I was like, maybe I need to be on my A game when I record this podcast. But then I was like, you know what? I think I just want to be real with y'all and kind of share with you how I've been feeling the last few weeks, which is I feel like I've been in a rut. And so we're going to talk all about that today, and I hope to give you some good tools and some good tips and strategies. What actually happened is I feel like I was in a rut pretty much since Christmas got over, and then it's just kind of stuck around. And then early last week I was like, finally, I feel like I'm back to normal. And then today I have this headache and I feel a little under the weather. And so I'm like, oh, I guess I'm back in it. So it's almost like a perfect time to talk about this and to share with you guys kind of some of the tools and strategies I like to use when I'm in a rut, because I basically, it's going to be for me too. So I sometimes just get this way in the winter, and maybe some of you are like that right now too. I was talking to one mom who was telling me about her daughter who's serving, and they have 22 hours of darkness right now and only 2 hours of daylight each day. So I'm hoping those people in that mission and other missions like that have happy lights and things like that to keep them, their bodies getting the amount of light that they need. But I think that it's just normal for many of us this time of year to sort of, I don't know, especially after the new year, evaluate kind of where we're at with things and how we feel about things. And after all my kids left at Christmas, I was kind of in this place, and I was feeling a lack of motivation and a lack of desire to really do anything. And then the more I started looking at that and judging that, the more I just started to kind of question who I was and what my purpose was. And yeah, even as a life coach, I should have all this stuff figured out. Well, I have a human brain just like you do. And so sometimes we get in these ruts. The way I described it to my husband, it's almost like if I was standing right in front of a wall of some kind, and there was something like some kind of painting or something on the wall that I was supposed to be able to tell what it was, but I just couldn't see it because I was so close to it. It's like I couldn't see past just basically what was right in front of me. And so it just felt kind of, like almost like a drudgery. And I just sort of lost the vision of what I want to create and all kinds of stuff. So we could call it like a rut. We could call it a funk is sometimes what I call it. Like I'm just in a funk. Or sometimes we could call it was funny. I was talking to my coach, and the first thing I said when I got on there is I was like, oh my gosh, I've been all over the place. I've been on a roller coaster. But then I was like, but you know what would maybe be more accurate is if I called it a lower coaster, not a roller coaster, but lower, like just lower vibrations of emotions is what I had been feeling a lot of, emotions. Again, never wrong thoughts, never wrong feelings, just thoughts and feelings that we feel from time to time. And I was feeling a lot of them that didn't feel as good. And so the question is what is the best way, or what are some of the best tools to sort of help yourself through these times when you feel like you're in a rut? And what are some of the ways that you can sort of be with yourself, and maybe some ways to help you kind of move through it and come out the other side? Okay. Now, I think these ruts can happen for a lot of reasons. I think that sometimes we just get sort of in this mundane place, right? We're just doing the same thing every single day. And so it just starts to feel like, well, I'm not seeing any maybe traction, maybe with our goals or whatever. And so we're like, oh, I'm just tired of doing this. I think it could be, physiological even, right? With our hormones and with chemicals in our body and things like that. It could also be environmental, kind of with me sometimes with the weather. Sometimes I think we get in these ruts or these lower coasters when we have a super high, and then it's funny how our body wants to and our minds want to bring us back to more of like a homeostasis or an even place. And so sometimes our brain or our body will sort of overcompensate. So if we've been on a high, we'll kind of experience this lower low right after that. And so I think there's a lot of reasons that this can happen. It can happen when we have a big transitional time. It can happen when we have a big change in our lives, right? So maybe we've just gotten married and it's this wonderful, beautiful thing. And then we kind of come home from our honeymoon and it's just like, oh, and now we're just in this mundane day to day, or after you have a baby, or after you get home from your mission, right? All of these things give us an opportunity to sort of, whether we like it or not, kind of bring about this feeling where we're in a rut and have a hard time, feeling the way that we want to feel or moving forward. Especially when you think about it like this analogy, like I told my husband, where it just feels like there's just this wall right in front of me and I can't even make out what I want to do next or how to get rid of this wall or anything. It just kind of feels like you're right in the middle of it. So I'm going to share with you 10 things that kind of to think about or to do or to try or to not do when you're in a rut. So the first one is run to rest rather than avoid doing. So this was sort of an aha I had a few weeks ago, because on this podcast I talk so much about rest and the importance of rest, and how in our society now and in the world and sometimes on our missions we really start to value or worship work, which is important, but it's also our bodies and our brains need rest from time to time. And what I started noticing myself doing was I was avoiding doing things rather than indulging in rest. So there's sort of a difference. So let me explain. So let's say I needed to write an email. Okay. So in my mind, my brain's like, oh, that's going to be hard. We don't want to write an email. Let's not do that. And then we avoid it. Okay. So we're avoiding doing that email. But I also was taking a nap instead. So I'm actually resting. But what I try to tell myself is, oh, I just need to rest. But what I'm actually doing in that rest is just avoiding what I'm supposed to do. So it's definitely a fine line, and you're the only one that's going to know, like, is this an intentional rest that I'm running to? Like a rest that's going to be rejuvenating, or is this just me avoiding either feeling a feeling I don't want to feel, or avoiding doing something that I know that I need to or want to do? Okay. So be aware, give yourself in kindness and love the rest that you need, especially when you're in a rut. But it might start to backfire on you is if you continually choose rest at the expense of doing something that you need to get done. So maybe it's where we start to split the time. Like, I'm going to intentionally rest here, and I'm going to intentionally sort of make myself feel uncomfortable and do this other thing, like work out or whatever it is. Okay. But I'm not going to avoid working out just to continue to rest. Okay. I hope that is clear. But number one is run to rest, or reward yourself with rest. Be kind to yourself with rest, but don't use it as a way to avoid doing what you need to do. Okay. Number two is don't compare, especially when you're in a rut. Okay. What happens is we're in a rut and we look around at everybody who's meeting their goals and who's motivated and who's showing up on social media and who's getting all of the baptisms and who's just landed their, favorite, most desired job that they've ever had, or who just got into nursing school or whatever it is. If you can, at all costs, do not compare, because most people don't show you when they're in a rut. That's why I thought it would be valuable for me to share with you that I have been. We don't see people's ruts. We don't see people's lower coasters. We usually see them when things are going really well for them. The exception might be someone that you're really close to. The exception might be if you're teaching a friend on the mission. Sometimes we see their ruts or their places where they're stuck. But number two, just don't compare. Sometimes I think of to the rut that we're in is that our brain and our body knows like we need a break, like we need to rest, like we need to slow down. And so that's when it sort of comes around, is because it's what we actually need. So just trust that where you are is where you're supposed to be. That leads me actually to number three, which is don't make your rut wrong. Okay. And it might sound like this to you, like I shouldn't be in a rut, or I wish this rut was over. So we're not going to judge where we're at. We're not going to judge how we're feeling. And we're not going to judge how we're getting through that rut or how we're coping. So if you're not going to judge where you're at, you're just going to be like, okay, I guess this is where we are today. I guess I'm still in the rut, and that's okay. And if we're not going to judge how we're feeling, maybe we're feeling anxious. And I have felt a little bit more anxious over the last 3 weeks than would be quote unquote typical for me. We're not going to judge that either. We're going to be like, okay, so I guess anxiety is part of the rut, or I guess discouragement is part of the rut, or I guess disappointment is part of the rut. And that's okay. We can do that. We can do those feelings. And don't judge how you are getting through or coping. Okay. Because people will say, well, you should just go on a walk, or you should just go to the gym. And we have all these ideas about quote unquote good ways to cope, or quote unquote not good ways to cope, but don't judge any of it. You just, whatever feels like restful and nourishing and kind to yourself, that's what you should be doing to take care of you and to get through and cope. Okay, number 4. Remember, your brain likes patterns. We've talked about this a lot, about how, it will choose a thought. It wants to continue to believe that thought because it's easy to just stay in that pattern of belief rather than change the way that you're thinking or viewing something. It also likes patterns in our day-to-day. It's a way for our brain to know what to expect. But number 4 is your brain likes patterns, but it also likes novelty. Okay. So if you see yourself, like maybe even on the mission, I think that we could be particularly prone to this, is like We're just doing the same thing every day. We get up, we do our exercise, we do our study, and then we just have appointments, right? And it can start to feel really like a pattern or very mundane. So if you can, see if you can shake it up a little bit. Like, can we do our study in a different place? Can we go to the park? Can we do it in a different way? And if you're not like feeling the brain power, if you're in this rut, kind of like I was standing in front of that wall, like to even see outside of it or be creative enough, awesome that you have a companion or a friend, be like, hey, how could we change this up? How can we change up our study? How can we change up our exercise? How can we change this up a little bit? Maybe change the order a little bit or go back and forth between the two or whatever we need to do to introduce that little bit of novelty. That will help you if you're in a rut. Number 5 is to talk to someone. So I think it just can be really useful to talk to somebody, to be vulnerable, and to be truthful about what's going on for you. Here's what I love about that. Number 1, when we say things out loud, it sort of helps us own it and like have love and compassion for ourselves. It also gives someone else the ability to tell us like we're doing fine and that's okay to be where we are. My husband has actually gotten really good at this, where he will just be like, hey, you're having a bad day? Okay, totally fine. I've got you. It makes sense that you're having a bad day. We all have them. Okay, and so that can be really validating. Here's the other thing that is awesome about talking to someone about it, is it gives other people the permission to also be in a rut. It's like, hey, look at where I'm at. So if you're ever there too, it's okay. The more we're honest and vulnerable and truthful about where we just are, the more permission we give to other people to be honest and truthful about where they are. And I can't think of something like more connecting than being vulnerable in that way and being open and authentic. So number 5 is talk to someone. Number 6 is to zoom out. I want to share with you a story that happened over the last few weeks when I was sort of in a rut. And I live in this suburb of Boise, a little smaller town right outside of Boise. And I was running a few errands. And when I got up in the morning, it was completely foggy. There was no sunshine. There was no blue sky. It was like, I was like, oh, here we are. This is what a rut feels like. Okay. And here we are again. And we're sort of in this mundane place where I'm still not feeling awesome. And then as I drove up into another part of town, Meridian's actually where I was driving up through, as I came up the hill, there was no fog in Meridian. And I just thought that that was such a good analogy for me for that time. Is like, even though I'm right here and feeling all of these feelings and having all of these thoughts and not feeling on my A game and feel like I'm on this lower coaster, right? It's not the truth of what is actually out there. It's not the truth of what my life actually is. And I'm having a hard time seeing what it actually is because of the fog. But if I can get outside of the fog, if I can see the bigger picture, there is like blue sky and sun. Okay. And that was just so good for me to know. I actually had this other experience over Christmas, actually, where I put a little dishwasher pod into the dishwashing machine. And I happened to like rub my eye very inadvertently without rinsing my hands. And I had no idea that the little pod things, the plastic on them, were so dangerous for your eyes. I just had no concept of that. I mean, I knew if I swallowed it, that would be bad, or if it like had popped open, that would be bad. But apparently just the film outside on the outside can be really harmful too. So I started noticing that night that my one right eye, if I covered my left eye, was completely blurry. It was like I was in a fog. So of course we called our friend who's an eye doctor, and he told us all the things to do. And by the next morning, after doing tons of eye drops, it was totally fine, but it was all that night when one eye was clear as I looked out of it, but then when I covered that eye and looked out the other eye, it was completely blurry, like I was in a fog. And again, that blurriness was not the truth of what was existing in the room. There was no fog in the room, but it was just like the lens through which I was seeing things. And this can be true when we're in a rut too. If you can just bring yourself to see outside of it a little bit, you might be able to notice that like there's some sunshine and there's some blue skies, and that this way you're feeling is temporary, that it's not the truth of what your whole life is like. You might just be in a rut. You might just have your nose right in front of one of those boards and you can't see the whole picture, but it's not going to last forever. If you drive a little ways or go a little bit further down your life path, it might clear up. Okay. And so you can zoom out on the whole big picture of how amazing your life is. And it's not bad just because this fog is here right now. Okay. Number 7 is get present. I find it very important when you're in a rut to not dwell a lot on the past and not look really far into your future. Okay. So this might sound counter to what I just said about zooming out. I think what I mean about zoom out is like, if you're on the ground, then let's take a helicopter all the way up above the fog and all of that so you can see what's going on. But what I'm saying with number 7, get present, don't look to the past or don't look to the future. What I've found when I'm in a rut and I look to the past, I get discouraged. I sometimes use it against myself. And when I look to the future, I get kind of anxious, more anxious than I normally do. So I tend to like judge my past self and then judge my current self, based on my future. I did a podcast about this over Christmas. Your Own Dickens Christmas Carol, if you want to check it out. So as much as you can when you're in this rut, just be where you are. Just be present. Be present with yourself. Be present with your emotions. Know that it's all okay and be kind to yourself. Okay. Try to not let your brain ping pong all over the place, and it will a little bit, but if you can, try to be really present and kind. Okay. Number 8 is save big questions or big projects or big decisions for later. Okay. When I was in this rut, I had a few people reach out and say, hey, can we do this thing together, a podcast together, or things like that? And I just was like, no, I just want to be really honest with you. I've been struggling. I struggle a little bit with a seasonal affective stuff. I'm not sure what's going on, but now's not the best time. Can I reach back out to you in 3 weeks? I think I'll be doing a lot better. And they were of course so understanding. They're like, that makes so much sense. I've been there. I get it. Right. And so save any of those big questions about like, should I go on a mission, or should I go to this college, or should I marry this person? See if you can just table those for a few weeks until you're feeling better. Okay. Maybe because sometimes it's hard to kind of figure out like, am I feeling sort of down or discouraged or disappointed because this isn't the right next step for me? Or am I just feeling this way because I'm in a rut? Okay. And maybe it is just because you are where you are. Okay. Number 9, I love this idea of picking a minimum sort of goal that you want to achieve for that day. And it might be different every day. So for me, one of the things that I always have, whether I'm in a rut or not in a rut, if I'm doing amazingly well or not as well, I always get dressed and do my hair and do my makeup from head to toe. I always have. And so no like sweats or pajamas for me during the day. Now, for you, it could be that your goal is, I want to stay in sweats and pajamas one day. So I'm not saying that one thing is right or wrong. What I am saying is have something very simple, a simple little thing that you can feel successful at in case this rut goes on for a while. So like, I can feel successful that I brushed my teeth. I can feel successful that I had a shower. I can feel successful that I got out of bed. And commit to yourself to just doing something that you know you can be successful at, that feels easy, because when you're in a rut, a lot of these things feel really hard. Even, I don't know what it is for you. Even like writing an email could be hard. Even talking to someone at the store could be hard. Even, I don't know, is FaceTiming with your family hard on the mission? Is dating hard when you're in a rut? Is studying hard? A lot of those things can feel extra hard and feel like they require so much effort when you're in a rut. And so pick just a few things that you know you can be successful at, and then just do those things if you have to. Just keep up with those little things. This gives you a little bit of an ability to be like, good job today. I got dressed. Okay. Good job today. I brushed my teeth. Good job today. I had a conversation with a person on the street, whatever it is for you. So wherever you're at, whatever emotional state, wherever your head is at, just pick something you can do and that you can be proud of. And sometimes it's going to have to be super small. It's going to have to be tiny sometimes, but pick something you know you can do and feel proud of at the end of the day. Okay. Number 10, be patient and compassionate. Okay. This is so important. One of the things that is sure to keep you in a rut is judgment, self-hatred, and self-loathing for where you're at. I promise you, nothing will keep you stuck and they're in that rut longer. So instead, we need to be compassionate with ourselves. We need to be like, listen, Jenny, like, this is okay. I know you don't love feeling this way. I know you're confused about who you are and what you want and what this life's about. And that's okay. It makes sense. We're going to be feeling better soon. That's one of the things I love to tell myself, is because when you're in a rut and all you can see, right, is the fog or that wall right in front of your face, that blurry wall, it feels like you might feel that way forever because you have a hard time seeing out of it. But I like to tell myself, it's not going to be this way forever. And that's where the patience comes in. Because I promise, like, it was like week 2 and I'm like, I'm going to come out of this soon. I'm thinking it's going to be right around the corner. And then we're on to week 3 and I'm like, still here, I guess, still feeling all these feelings, still confused, still not sure what I want, still a little bit judging myself or whatever. And then all of a sudden one day I felt a lot better. And I was just patient with myself. I was just compassionate with myself, and hopefully, and really trying to do all of these other things that I have shared with you. So let me review them one more time for you. Run to rest, or indulge yourself with rest, or be kind to yourself with rest rather than avoiding stuff. You'll feel so much better if it's a reward instead of something that you're just using to avoid. Number 2, don't compare. Number 3, don't make the rut you're in wrong. Don't judge it. Don't judge where you are or how you're feeling or how you're coping. Number 4, your brain likes patterns, but remember to add in some novelty. Number 5, talk to someone. Number 6, zoom out. Get above the fog or outside of the fog in your mind, okay? Number 7, get present. Stop bouncing back and forth to the past and present, or past and future. Number 8, save big questions, big projects, or big decisions for later. Number 9, just use minimum baselines or minimum goals that you know you can achieve to feel successful every day. And number 10, be patient, be compassionate. And before you know it, you'll start to feel better. Okay? Just like I have. And you will too. All right? So I hope all of these help you. I hope it gives you something to kind of think about and something to kind of work towards, to being kinder and more compassionate to you when you're in a rut. All right. Sending love to every single one of you, especially if you're not feeling awesome right now. I see you and my heart goes out to you. And we'll talk to you next time. Serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints can present a unique set of challenges. And many of those challenges you might not even see coming. So you're going to want a unique set of solutions. It's easier than you think to overcome worry and anxiety, serve the successful mission you've always dreamed of, and navigate your post-mission experience with confidence. That is why I created some amazing free goodies that I'm sharing in my show notes. Maybe you'll want to grab the free training for preparing missionaries, my video course for RMs, or maybe you and I should hop on a free strategy call. If you're ready to take your preparedness to serve or your preparedness to come home to the next level, then go grab one of those freebies. And in the meantime, no matter which part of the mission experience you are involved in, just know that Jenny, the LDS mission coach, is thinking about you every single day.